Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of DCT Recruitment's The Icing on the Career Cake. And today we have a very special guest for everybody, don't we, Diane? Who is it?
We do. So we have Hannah Todd today, who has just written a book called Legacy, which is all about how you help prepare your family when, unfortunately, the time comes for death. So I met Hannah at a networking group called Move. I've known her now for at least over 2 years. She's a brilliant person. And if you ever need a celebrant to look after you when the times are not so nice, then Hannah is definitely your girl.
Well, let's meet Hannah and find out a little bit more about this book and what she does. So here's Hannah. Hello, Hannah.
Hi. Hi, Graham. Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Where are you coming from today?
I am coming from my office. It looks like I'm in the dark. I'm not. I'm just in front of a very bright window, but I'm coming to you from South Liverpool today.
Lovely. And have you lived in and around Liverpool all of your life? Are you from that area? Or?
Yes. So, when I was 2, we moved to this house, and I've been here ever since. And the house before was a whole 3-minute walk away. I've literally haven't gone very far.
Wow. Wow. Have you travelled the UK though? Have you with work or anything else?
Oh yeah. So I used to be an area manager of a cafe, a group of cafes, and when I say area manager, I went everywhere. So my area was from Rotherham, up in Rotherham down to London or South London, and anywhere in between. So anywhere I had to go, I went.
Okay. So on your travels, where's some of the nicest places that you've visited?
Oh, for me, not work related, Whitby will always have my heart.
Yeah.
Being a goth, and it being where Bram Stoker wrote Dracula, I just absolutely love it. Used to go there on holidays when I was little, and I've since introduced my partner to it, and it's one of the few places I'm allowed to keep going back to. Normally he's like, let's go somewhere new, and I'm like, I don't want to. I want to go exactly where we've been before.
Now I've got to say as well, Hannah, I'm very impressed with the top today as well. Look at those pumpkins.
I am a big fan of both black cats and pumpkins, so it's my season now. So I'm very excited. It's autumn and October.
Wow. Do you do carving of pumpkins and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, any excuse. Mostly all of my excuses to celebrate, they came from my mum, who died 8 years ago, and she just always wanted an excuse to bake. So we always had like specific things that we would bake, and I do the decoration side of things now. So any excuse to change up a room, I'm there.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned baking, because the next question that we have for you, which we do ask every guest, is, so what kind of icing are you?
Oh. See, like my favorite icing is just like straight up butter icing.
Oh.
But I don't know if that's me.
Oh.
So that wouldn't be what you would describe yourself as, a icing on the cake? No.
Oh, maybe ginger or cinnamon icing. That's something nice and warm and spicy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Warm and spicy. It's got a bit of kick to it as well.
Yeah. You can't have too much. I'll make you sick.
Okay. So when did you become a celebrant? When did that happen?
So I had a bit of a career change in 2024, which feels a lot longer ago than it actually was. So that was
time flies these days, doesn't it?
That was the start of 2024. Did my training, and I haven't looked back since. I've absolutely loved it. It's very different than hospitality, but it's a lot more rewarding. I did love my hospitality life, but I really love being a celebrant. Helping families through their darkest days it's an honor. And it sounds cheesy, but it's true. It is an honor to be able to help people, and to give their loved ones the send off they deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You say it sounds complete opposite or whatever, but actually I know someone in my area, and he worked in the bakery trade for many, many, many years.
Ah.
And he's now a
It is.
funeral director.
You have to like people.
And I was going to say,
I was
when
just
I
gonna
asked
say,
him
yeah.
about that, he said, yeah, but it's all about people still.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say your hospitality days definitely helps you be able to articulate your message well in the job you do now, because one, in hospitality, you have to have patience of a saint. You have to have compassion, because when they're kicking off at you about the food, it generally probably isn't that. It's generally because something's happened in their life, and that was just the final straw. And you
Yeah.
just get it, don't you, in hospitality?
You never know what someone's carrying, if you're the only person that they've spoken to that day or anything like that. So yeah, you do have to have, at least I know what I'm stepping into generally.
Yeah.
Now I was like, I know what they're all going through. Whereas I never knew what the chip on people's shoulders was in the cafe. But
Yeah. I was going to ask you that, Hannah. Obviously, unfortunately, you have lost your mum, and that was a big loss to you. Is that one of the reasons why you chose to go down the path you are? Because when you went through that process, you found it so hard, and you want to be able to make that easier for people?
I think so. Like, we didn't get on with the celebrant that we were given from my mum, but she wanted to do things a certain way and my dad didn't. So we did most of it ourselves. My dad did the eulogy. And so he sort of used 90% of the time. I think she basically said hello and did the committal. And that's fine. And I'll encourage families to do that if that's what they want to, if that's what they do. If that works better for them, I'll just be there on the sidelines just to make sure everything goes smoothly. But it was just strange that it started me not necessarily becoming a celebrant, but becoming death positive, in that people kept talking to me in euphemisms. And I was like, I haven't lost my mum. I know exactly where she is. I've never known more where she is now. Like, she shouldn't go off on her own anymore. So it was one of those things that, like, when people would use euphemisms like, oh, she's passed on, I was like, well, she hasn't. I was like, that doesn't explain anything. And having to explain it to my nephew, who was only 1 at the time, he did refer to my mum as having been recycled. That was interesting. He didn't get it. So we were trying our best. But then, unfortunately, we talked about recycling not too long after. And he was like, oh, like you did with Grandma. And you're like, oh.
Oh, bless
Grandma
him.
in the recycling. But
it's probably understandable. They get a lot of that conversation at school, and
it was the conversations around it that changed sort of my way of thinking, and I started studying into death and why we do things a certain way, and how different cultures sort of deal with things. And then from then it sort of led into funeral celebrancy. So it was, but in a roundabout way. It wasn't like, oh my God, my mum died, this is so traumatic, I want to help people. It sort of drip fed into it.
Yeah That's nice.
As you've studied for this, have you discovered, for example, that like we're as a culture are pretty bad at talking about death compared with maybe other cultures? And
oh God, yeah, we're awful, and we don't really have a reason for it. That's the kicker for me. But we do have a reason for it. So death used to be very much in the home. Bodies would stay with families. We would have wakes before, like Irish wakes, and wakes before the services, where people would come around and pay their respects. And then as it became an industry, as things changed, and that became, we became aware of how germs and things work. And it became a funeral industry. It got removed, but that's why funeral homes are funeral homes, because they didn't want it to sound too dissimilar to what people had been used to. And that all changed in the 1800s, really. And then in 1914, we had World War One. And all the rituals that people had of wearing black, of mourning, it was too much for the collective consciousness. So people were discouraged from talking about death to keep morale high, to keep people going off to war, to keep people in the war effort. So after that, we just stopped talking about it. So there's a huge shift just in that one generation. And then that's sort of messed with the rest of us. So yeah, the UK, like Western UK and America, both sort of did very similar things. We just didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because people were like, oh, well, we can't talk about it because we can't make people sad. But obviously hundreds of thousands, millions of people were dying.
Yeah.
We didn't know how to process it.
Whereas death in some cultures is celebrated and it's talked
Yes.
of as part of life, and yeah.
So it's I went to Mexico, oh God, probably about like 15 years ago.
Wow.
Which makes me sad because I feel like it was yesterday. And I just loved the culture. Everybody has a job in Mexico. You go to a cafe, one person takes your order, another one makes the drink, and somebody else brings it over to you. Because they're just, a lot of them are family based, so they're like, everybody works together. And being in hospitality at the time I was doing it, I was fascinated.
I have to do all those jobs.
Yeah, I was like, I have to run around like a headless chicken. But their culture around Day of the Dead, and it's something I would love to go back to. But I'd want to do sensitively. I don't just want to be a gawker. I would love to see sort of Day of the Dead celebrations in person, because how they talk about their dead and how they talk about them revisiting them every year. So it's the 2nd of November, so it's All Souls Day. If you have a state calendar in your head like I do, and it's just warm and friendly, and it's just the fact that just because they're gone, they're not part of the family anymore.
Yeah.
So the offenders are beautiful, but there's so much colour and joy and happy memories associated with it that it just blows my mind. So
yeah.
Last year, my niece, she loves anything a little bit spooky. So we had a Day of the Dead party, just me and her. I decorated like there were 50 people coming, but it was just me and her, and we watched Coco, because it was a nice, easy way for her to understand it. She was only 4, and I explained about how we have an offrenda because we have a mantelpiece. Most people have somewhere that they've got all these photos of family, and we do the same thing. We just do it in a slightly different way. So I was explaining about like how this is our offrenda, and I was sharing some sweets with her that my mum used to like and things like that. So she knows that her grandma really liked Parma violets. I can't stand them, but she picked Parma violets out at a party because she knew grandma likes them. So we talk about her a lot. So she has, I suppose, false memories of her, but
she has a connection.
Still with her. Yeah, she has a connection to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would 100%. I want people to celebrate me in a very Mexican way, with or without tequila. Personally, I would go with. But yeah, a Mexican way rather than a British way would be much better.
Do you know, I always say I don't want people to wear black at my funeral because I never wear black. I always wear colour. I always wear something. And I always say, like, I don't want you to be sad, just be grateful that you met me or whatever, or celebrate it. Don't be sad. Just, come in colour. Me personally, I'm not really bothered if I had a grave or not, because I don't want to feel people would have to come to visit me. And that's just me as a person. I'm not probably the greatest of asking for help or asking for people to do stuff. I'm very good at giving it, just not so good at receiving it. So I think that's just more a personality thing, that I'm like, don't worry about having, a grave where you feel like it has to come. And that's everybody's different, like, perspective, isn't it, Hannah?
Yeah, it's like I really like the idea of having a grave myself.
Yeah.
Partly because I do enjoy a cemetery walk. And I am a cliche. I can't help it.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't want people. I want a natural burial rather than
Yeah.
a more formal.
Yeah.
So don't want to be buried in a coffin. Want to go back to the earth. So if you let it go to rack and ruin, fine, because they're often the more interesting graves to look at anyway. The older ones, the ones that are covered in moss and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want a shiny marble grave. Don't give me that.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever been to Glasgow, Hannah?
No, I
You've ever been
haven't.
to Glasgow? So in Glasgow, we went in COVID to Glasgow, and there's this, like, it's a weird thing maybe to some people, but we went to the graveyard because it's like it's famous, and it had like people from the 1800s, like so old graves, like we played a game, we could find the oldest graves type of things. Does that make sense? But it had all like the war people there, and it had like, you know, really important people to Glasgow. And honestly, it is nice to go and read some of it, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
and see the history of people and think, wow, look what it is. And some of the headstones there were like big, massive archangels. They were amazing. You know what I mean? But yeah, we did go and have a trip to
the money and the intricacy and the workmanship that goes into some graves
Yeah.
absolutely blows my mind. I'm like, that didn't come out of the cast. I was like,
Yeah.
somebody made that. Somebody
Yeah.
sat there with a big giant rock and turned it into that. It astounds me. So yeah, I love a bit of history, and I love it when we don't often get clues to person's life on our gravestones anymore. But sometimes if there was like a great sickness in a village or there was a tragedy, you'll get bits of the history, and so you can sort of like pinpoint it. And I always find that absolutely fascinating, that when you get like a little bit of a story. And there's a place in London called Postman's Park, and that has loads of tiles in a certain part of it. So it was a graveyard, and then there are these tiles, and they're all to people who died a heroic death, but they're all really small moments, like the fact that their brother was drowning, so they got in, they saved their brother, but they went under, and things like that, and people that have, you know, pushed people out of the way of traffic, like that sort of thing. But they're all really old, but it's really interesting because you get their story, and some of them are so young, but they all died saving somebody else.
My mind, whilst you were talking about all of that, kind of wandered to, I just wonder what's changing nowadays in terms of what's going on people's graves, etc. Because years ago, I mean, we went up to a small church up the road and went through the graveyard. It's the house that was in To the Manor Born, if anyone remembers that. And the family that owned that, I mean, they had amazing gravestones with Bible verses, etc. on the gravestones. But what are people putting on gravestones now, for example? I mean, are we beginning to get Taylor Swift lyrics and stuff like
that? Would be great. I'm now like, I'll spend the day like, oh, what Taylor Swift lyrics can you put on her gravestone? But I mean, a lot of people aren't getting buried. So cremation is huge now. I have most people that are buried, it will be for religious reasons. So I haven't actually, I've done interment of ashes, so like burial of ashes, but I've not done any burials of people.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, because most of the time it's done by a faith leader. Just because most people that are having them done, like they do exist. Like people have sort of like non-religious burials, but most of the time it's done by a priest or
is that partly due to cost or?
Yeah, quite possibly, and because attitudes to graveyards are changing.
I was going to say, would you think that could be because lives are so busy now? So where I'm saying I wouldn't want to feel like someone had to come and visit my grave because I wouldn't want to be like an interruption to people's lives. Like, does that make sense? Do you think maybe that's a bit of a reason, like, why people don't have it, or are people more like open to having the actors at home and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it's also just a case of it is cost. It's
right. Okay.
It's probably half as expensive, Like
Oh,
when
right.
people die, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Why funeral plans are a very, very smart idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is just that people go for cremations now. They're cheaper, so obviously people have plaques and things, and you can bury ashes, but it just happens less and less often.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose there is less of a tradition. Like I quite like it when I see I do like it when I see a really modern grave. Like there was one, it was a gorgeous piece of slate, and there was just a tiny bit of writing up at the top, and the rest of it, I was like, it's just a lovely piece of slate to look at. But no, people don't put Bible verses on, and they're not as ornate as they used to be. So all the things that are put on gravestones have different meanings to indicate like how they died or how they lived, and like if their life was cut short. So there was 100 years ago, somebody would walk around a graveyard and they'd know how, or they'd know details of that person's life just by looking at which flowers have been engraved. And we just don't do it anymore because the styles have changed, but also we do just mostly go for cremations.
Is there kind of like a Vegas of burial grounds as well? I mean, is there anywhere where, like, you know, there's like a neon sign, it's like they're buried here, or is just that's not allowed to happen?
Generally, there are rules, so you can't do stuff like that. But in Iceland,
Elvis was, yeah.
like a Beetlejuice sign.
Be quite cool. You have to
Yeah,
admit.
it would be cool. So, yeah, I'll start that the Vegas of
Go to the graveyard for a neon party.
In Iceland, they light up graveyards though. So individual graves are like lit up and stuff because it's you know, in the winter it's dark all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they light up the graveyards.
Oh, maybe there's an idea then.
You've got a new business there.
If we were going to do Vegas of graveyards, it's
a great yeah. If anyone hasn't registered that as a website, I think it needs to be done. Oh dear. I was going to ask you. You mentioned funeral plans. I'm doing some work in the care sector at the moment, and one of my things in there is that at 54 now, because I had my birthday recently, years of age, nobody has ever talked to me about care, and I have to say, very few people have ever talked to me about death either. And is it something where actually we need to start getting more people going into businesses, etc., now talking about death, talking about funeral plans, talking about how to support staff when somebody dies, etc., because it's, you know, when we're talking about overall well-being of staff, etc., then that comes into it as well. We're all probably, because people are living longer as well, we're probably and we're working longer, we're probably all going to be at work when somebody in our family dies, etc. But you know, how do we cope with that?
Treating them normally is generally the best way to go. People do this weird eggshell thing where they feel like they can't talk about that person that's died, like the bereaved person isn't thinking about them constantly. You will never remind somebody who's lost someone that they remind them that they've died. You will only remind them that they lived, and that they're remembered. But I was talking about it this morning. I got sent an email. So earlier today, I was looking through resources for workplaces and what to do after someone's died, because we don't, like I say, we don't talk about it. We have bereavement policies in place. And, you know, people take their time off, they have a funeral, they come back, and then it's just straight back to work. And the weird thing that always drives me crackers is you have to go back to work after 2-3 weeks. And sometimes before the funeral, if there was like an inquest or anything like that. But you can't get bereavement counselling on the NHS for 6 months. So you've got to go and pretend to be a normal member of society for 5.5 months.
Wow.
And then you can go and get help. So you're in work just bumbling around, not knowing how to do your job, feeling like, what is the point of all of this? And probably after a death, especially a sudden death, is when most people will have a big career change. Because, yeah, it makes them think, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to make somebody else happy or to make me happy?
Yeah. It's hard to put a time frame on that. But then as a business, it'd be hard to have an open book of, we'll give you enough time, because unfortunately, there's more people in the world that would abuse the policy than that would uphold the policy. Does that make sense? So I think that's where, like, if you always have on your policy to the director's discretion, then you can make an individual case for that person. I always have that on my stuff, because I think, especially for me, when I was opening the business, I was like, oh yeah, we'll give sick pay, you this, that, because you're all, for that. And, we had that. But then the HR person, like, explained to me, yeah, but you will have people who will literally use that. And I do look back and think, when we were in McDonald's, there was definitely people who took the 4-week sick on top of the 7-week holiday they had. And you'd just be like, oh my God, like, you'd have the same people. So you do have people, unfortunately, don't you, that don't really follow it. So it is hard. You can't put a time on that, But
no, and it's
the right employee will look after the employee, I think.
Yeah. And it's hard if you've got a small team that relies on each other. Often deaths are unannounced. So after my nan-in-law died, who I'd known for longer than I knew any of my grandparents, I was just like, sorry guys, I can't open up the shop tomorrow. There was nobody to open it. I was just like, really sorry. But I was like, she died in the middle of the night, and I was like, I can't leave my family. And I knew that other people just happened to be on holiday and things like that. And I was like, tough. And I was like, can someone do me a favor and put a sign on the door? I was like, we'll be back on Monday. I can't do it today. So it can have a massive impact on small businesses. But yeah, like you say, you've just got to.
But I feel like that's where
you can't say you'll magically be healed after 4 weeks.
Yeah.
No.
You won't.
But I feel like that's where, again, sort of the educational bit and, working alongside comes in. I mean, if we started when people came into the business and we said, look, over here is a resource about, what's going to happen when you get a relative that needs to go into care, or this is information about, funeral plans, etc. Or we're going to have someone come in once a month and they're going to sit over there and you can go and talk to them about this stuff,
Yeah.
I feel like if we're being proactive in it rather than
reactive, like most of the time you deal with a problem because you're faced with it. You have bereavement policies and things in place and sick policies, but it's only when you sort of realize, like, oh, the added impact that will have on someone's life. If the person that died was a primary carer of their children or something like that, everything changes in your life. It's not just you've lost the person, you've lost that support, you've lost their guidance, and you've lost their physical support. So they might have to change hours that they work, or work from home if they've got to pick up kids, things like that. So everything changes, everything shifts.
And that's a massive one these days. I mean, we see more and more as people are working these kind of long hours and etc. I mean, I can only say that from doing the school pick up and drop off myself. The amount of grandmas or granddads that are taking kids to school, and you'd know that for those parents, if one of those relatives was to die, what would they do?
I wouldn't have been able to function without my mum and dad. Bringing Thomas up on my own and working full time, doing 2 jobs, I wouldn't have been where I am today without that support.
Yeah.
And I would clearly say, Thomas definitely loves my mum more than me. Definitely. Yeah, you definitely have a different connection with your grandparents at times, don't you? Because I think, like, I'm not a nan yet, but some of my friends are, and I think you'd have more time and patience for your grandchildren because you haven't got to be running around doing everything like you was when you were younger, and you're trying to build a home, build a career, build a family, and it's all like go, go, go. Like my mum's taught Thomas how to sew, how to bake, how to do everything. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
and it's like he will go to me mum for stuff like that than me all day long. You know what
I
I mean?
don't know
So,
that he loves her more than you,
he
though.
probably will say it, Graham.
He, oh yeah, but that's because he's not allowed. He's not allowed to tell you that, right? That's the way that kids work. That's the currency on which they work, which is, you know, make you feel like, you know.
Yeah, but
You've
my
got to
mum
work
is.
for it.
Yeah.
I know everybody's mum is, but my mum is such a special person. Like, there's just no backbone in my mum's body. Like, she's amazing. So I do get it. Like, you know, she is like the core of the family, does everything. Nothing's ever too big or too small or anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, she is amazing. Like, so I'm okay with that. I get that because, you know, she had to have Thomas quite a lot when I was working shifts. You know what it's like in hospitality. You'd be on like at 4 till 2 in the morning, then you'd be on at 12 till 8, then you'd be on at 6 till 4. So I'd be in my old bedroom with him in his cot in my mum's, like just to see him for a few hours in between. It was the hardest part of my life. That, do you know what I mean? You know, so I definitely your parents, like if people haven't got that, it'd be so hard. Especially when like people come, like we have candidates who've come from other countries and they're here and they've got no support network. They're here, they're on their own. You know, it's tough without a network to support you to be able to do both. Yeah.
And then if they were to suffer a bereavement, it'd be they're either isolated because they're on their own, or they have to go back home.
Yeah.
A whole other kettle of fish. You're not just going to go home for 2 days, are you? And it's the other side of the world.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think is the estimated economic impact of employees taking time off due to bereavement in the UK? Any guesses?
All I know is I would say it wouldn't be due to taking time off for bereavement. It would be sick leave at a later date. I think because people they'd go back to work, they'd do what they had to do. And then because they're not dealing with it and their workplace isn't dealing with it, I think it'd get wrapped up in our sick pay and our mental health problems.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not a numbers girl.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you anyway.
Okay.
Because there is a government report on it. It's 23 billion a year.
I was going to say billions. I was going to say that. Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like, and whenever I see those things, and it's the same with the same sort of figures with care, etc., I look at it and think, well, we do need to shift this to being the other way around. We do need to proactively start to talk to people about these things before it happens, rather than wait.
Planning ahead and talking about it. You're not going to make it happen if you talk about it.
But it's 11:11. It's 11:11. If you believe in the angels, make a wish.
It is 11. It is 11 o'clock. Okay, look at that.
So Hannah, tell us about your book. What? You know, you're a famous author, best-selling author.
Woo. Number 2 on Amazon.
Yeah, well done.
When you know how to rig Amazon. So
I paid them a £5. They put me at number 2.
I've given them a tenner. So the legacy book was the idea was born because I spoke to families and the amount of stress that they were in by the time they got to me, because they couldn't find pieces of paper and things like that. They didn't know how they were going to pay for funerals and stuff like that. So they didn't know about the bank accounts, or all the bank accounts were frozen. And then they're like, but then how do we get the money to pay for the things we need to pay for? So all of the stress and stuff that got involved in that led me to write the legacy book. So it takes you from your final days. So we do start with like, what medication are people on? How they want to be treated. So do you want to be in a care home? Do you not? I personally am like, I don't have kids. So I ship me off to a care home and visit me, please, nephews and nieces. That is what I'd like. I was like, I don't want to be a burden on you and your family, but I would like, come visit me, but pop in for a cup of tea once a week or once every other week. I've got 10 of them. They can take it in turns. So, like, you know, I personally prefer that. Some people hate the idea of it and want to be in their own home. So it's talking about, if necessary, you know, or if it wasn't necessary, where would you like to be? How would you like to be cared for? Do you want your organs donated or not? Because even though it's opt out now, people still don't talk about it. And the reason the government changed that rule is because people don't talk about it, and then people couldn't face the decision when they were faced with that decision. So it takes you through your final days, then all your financials. Where's your bank accounts? How much debt do you owe? Have you got your mortgage deeds? Are they anywhere sensible? You know, what cars you might have. There is a line in there about, if you've got a yacht, please tell me where the keys are. And you know, within the financial bit, there's also, like, you know, your Facebook account. What do you want doing with that? And how do I log into it? You know, how do I get into your phone to access your banking and whatnot? Where are all your bank accounts, so that we can ring up Barclays or whoever and say, you know, pause this. And then there's funeral planning, and that includes a lot of family as well. So family and where you've lived, who's important to you, things that you've learned along the way, and then the nitty-gritty of your funeral. It's more than just 3 songs. What kind of service do you want? Do you want a faith leader? Do you not want a faith leader? And for the funerals, then it's your farewells. So there's a space to write letters or to leave letters in to people, which will be a great help. And especially if you're writing it at a time when you're not dying, you're probably more likely to get a bit of an honest answer out of people. And then the last bit is the future without you. So there's a couple of grief coaching techniques in there, and then some pointers of places where people can go and get help. One of which obviously being me, but not all just me.
And Hannah, is this a physical book, or is it?
Yes,
it's a physical book. Fantastic.
Physical book that's buried. Physical. That's mine, with my post-its for all the things I haven't filled in. But yeah, it's a 100% physical book, and you can buy that on my website.
This is a great Christmas present, I feel, for my parents. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you might have to warn them and give them some chocolates too, because otherwise they'll just be like, "Oh, you bumping me off."
I don't think so. I've tried so hard to talk to them about what happens next, because they're getting to that age now, and I just find it falls on deaf ears, or we start to have the conversation and then they go, anyway, you know.
And it's having it written down is important, because as much as people obviously will have power of attorney and things like that, having it written down, because when my nan-in-law died, there were conversations about what she'd have wanted. And she'd told some people that she wanted certain songs, but then others were like, "Oh no, she wouldn't have picked that." And I was like, "But why would that person lie?" I was like, why would we be saying this? So there was a lot of conflict on these things, because it had been spoken about to some people, but not to others.
Can we just go back? Sorry, go on, Hannah.
No, so just saying, so it being written down is really useful, because not everybody will have had the same conversations.
Yeah. So in the book, so we can go back to the power of attorney. Is in the book, does it have about your will and a power of attorney, and the reason why you need one? Does it have why? Because this is my argument with my parents, is they're like, I've got a will, and like, I know, but you need a power of attorney, and like, they're like, no, I'm like, no, you do. And it's like, we're still a child, and they don't believe that we know more in life at times, and it's a constant battle. So I feel your pain, Graham, because I'm at that position. So I'm like, and my nan got Alzheimer's, dementia, and I know my mum probably will. And, you know, I'm explaining it's got to be done now. Once she's there, it's too late. And it's like, you know, can you please just like do this?
And I was like, while you're compos mentis, mum, I can't nick anything off you. Like, you know, you're not going to do anything if she's there. And I'll start mind. But so power of attorney, legal, medical, and where your will is kept are all on there. And also information that you can register it online, so that it's there. You don't have to actually find the physical copies. So like which solicitor has all of this information so that you're getting bona fide information.
Yeah, I mean, we won't go into like the financial detail, but I mean, but again, you'll know this, that obviously if people, the earlier that people act on it, sometimes if you move some of your finances before you get to a certain point, you can avoid a huge amount of tax. Not that I should say that, but but you can.
But also, it depends on. Everyone worries about inheritance tax, and the thresholds are actually quite high. But it does tickle me. My auntie used to worry about inheritance tax a lot, like that me and my mum, that my mum and dad would have to pay it, and he was like, "How expensive do you think our house is? Like, it's fine." But the day before my mum died, my dad was driving me and my brother home, and we were just talking about stuff, and Dad was saying he didn't want to be in a hospice, and he'd hate to. He was like, if I knew I was dying, I'd go for a long walk without my jumper.
Oh.
And I was like, all right, thanks. And he was like, don't worry, I'll tell you where I'm going, but with enough time for you to not get there in time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he had this plan, and we were joking, and I went, oh yeah, but do me a favor, Dad, and don't do it for 7 years. We're joking because we were joking about inheritance tax. My brother was absolutely mortified in the back of the car. Like, how can you be joking about money when we've just been to see like our dying mum? And I'm like, because you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just how we're processing it. There was a lot of like dark humor. I have badges that say like that say dead mum club and dead dad club and adult orphan. And when someone tells me that they've lost a parent, I will be like, I'll judge the situation, but normally after a little while I'll be like, yeah, just slide the like little badge over, and I'm like, welcome to the club. And it's lighthearted, because you've got to be, otherwise you go crackers. But yeah, inheritance tax is a real thing. Living wills are a real thing. A lot of people would prefer, if they've saved up all their life to support their children and do the right thing or whatever, they'd probably prefer to see their children spend that money rather than they themselves struggle, and then after they die they get a little bit of a nest egg. And you think, well, maybe I could have helped them put the deposit down on that house 10 years ago because I had the money then and I didn't do it. And that's not so much about avoiding taxes, it's just about a sensible use of money. Why do we wait until it's all gone?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Why do we wait until the person's gone when you could have a living will, bequeath money to people, and actually see them enjoy it, see them thrive?
I always say to my mum and dad, I'm not bothered about any money you leave me when, I'd rather you live your life and enjoy it, which they definitely do, because they go on about 3 cruises a year or 6, 7 holidays, which is great because that's what retirement's for, isn't it?
Right? Yeah, you've done the hard work. You should get to do what you want.
And they have helped you through your life anyway, naturally, that's just what you do, don't you? So, yeah, I agree with that.
A little bit of an aside, but I was going to say, I wonder whether actually a number of things society-wise are going to come kind of full circle anyway, because cost of living now, cost of getting your first home and whatever, are we going to see more people in the future living as extended families again, not necessarily having everybody having their own home or whatever? Are we potentially going to go back to more sort of nuclear family support, etc.? I don't know.
Yeah, especially with people living longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything is so expensive.
Especially if they put in your book, do not put me in a home, have me in your house. You're going to have to live by the
rules. But then there's, it's like having that support and that companionship as well is really important.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that does for a lot of old people is not, as soon as they can't get out, easily by themselves, that it's the loneliness, I think. And it takes away their will to live. That's a big part of it. But if you had someone in your house, then it's completely different.
I wrote a piece for LinkedIn the other day, where I showed a picture of the care home of the future, because I was arguing the case that we've got a care home just being built down the road at the moment here, and I looked inside what features it was going to have, and it was going to have like a newspaper club where people read you a newspaper, and it was going to have chess and drafts and whatever, and I did this envisioned care home of the future, and I had like people playing Xboxes and PlayStations and whatever, because I mean, are our generation going to want to go and play drafts? I just don't.
Yeah,
I wonder whether
have a little podcast studio.
Exactly.
Green screen.
Graham, that is the best thing. Old people, I love old people, don't care because they've got to that point where they say what they think, they don't care. You should make a podcast in the care homes. That would be hysterical. Imagine having the lady who's 105 and you're like, tell me about your 105 years on this earth. Oh, it would just be the best thing ever.
I love it when they do, they often get like, what's your secret to living longer? And like some of them will be like, oh, healthy eating. And then they'll just be like a little old lady who's just sat there and just went, I never married. And I'm like, yes.
Or I have a gin every day for me breakfast.
You've actually given me a really great idea. Thanks, Diane. That's
honestly, Graham, that will be America.
They are building a little cinema in there, and so it'll have acoustic paneling and whatever.
That would be amazing.
Just go down and suggest it to them. Old people podcast. Yeah,
hilarious.
I put a guy to work a few months ago, right? And he was 72. Wow. And I was like, what's the secret, Frank, to this? And he'd been married for like 55, whatever. And he was like, when I walk in the house, she walks out. I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, that's the secret to success.
I love it. I love it. Oh, so when we do come back together.
Yeah, marriage makes men live longer and it makes women die longer.
Well, there you go.
Single versus married women. Married women die younger.
Right, before you go, one last kind of push for the book, please, so that people can go and get it. I mean, honestly, it sounds like if you're in the same situation as Diane and me, and you've got parents who are of a particular age, and you want to subtly not so subtly.
It's not so subtle. It's
subtly, not so subtly. And here's a really great trick. Buy a box of chocolates, any brand will do, where the box is big enough. Take all of the chocolates out and put the book inside, and give them it wrapped up as a box of chocolates. Oh, I think that's even better. Hannah, you should just have that as available wrapping.
I'm just going to bury one in a box of Quality Streets, because there's always loads of space in them boxes now, isn't there?
Oh, dear.
I also think, though, there's some very sensitive information in there, though. So you maybe need to buy the book with a safe. So maybe do a package deal on Amazon, Hannah, because I know my mum and dad would be very safety conscious. So it'd be like
the questions I've asked are. The questions, how they're structured, it's information about your banks, but it's not how to access them. So there's no passwords in there apart from like to your phone and your computer. But then, obviously you don't have to put those in. It's just, and the whole point is the book then is kept somewhere safe in your house.
Yeah. Well, you could always do it by saying, and the passwords are, and then you put the passwords in a secure,
So it'll tell you, who the bank's with, and like it'll give you like the account number, but it doesn't give you like all your private details so that you can work it out.
But even if it is, that's just something to think about, isn't it? Like put it somewhere in the safe.
Somewhere safe. And it says that in the introduction, like put it somewhere safe, but tell people that it exists and where your safe place is.
I have to say, this is actually, because I've been watching some quite recent AI stuff as well. This is probably actually much more secure than doing it a lot of other ways, because it's been terrifying in the last week or two. They, on various shows, they've been showing how now with AI, especially preying on older people, that people are copying people's voices and whatever on telephone calls and getting them to phone up relatives and whatever and say, oh, you know, tell me your bank account details, Dad, because I you know, I need to put some money in your account and whatever. And so all of that is happening.
We've always been told, oh, don't write down your passwords. And I'm like, no, write down your
password.
But
a book where someone knows where it is.
Yes, scammers aren't coming in your house and finding your notebook.
No, this is absolutely true. So one last time, Hannah, where can people get it? Where can people get the book?
You can buy it from, every time I swear I have to say my website, I say it wrong. Not even funny.
Well, we'll put a link to it anyway.
I am now absolutely terrified. I'm going to say it wrong. I've got to find it again. I don't know what it is about me, but I always want to. Yeah, right. I do know it. I'm not an idiot. It's legacybook.co.uk. I always want to put legacybook.co.uk. You can get it there. There's free shipping on there. And your money doesn't go to Amazon, which is always
or you can get it on Amazon. Yeah.
Legacybook.co.uk. We'll make sure when this goes out on YouTube, etc., that there is a link directly to there so that people can go and get the book, etc. Folks, this has been Hannah. If you've enjoyed this conversation today, then do get in touch with Hannah. What's the best way of connecting with you if people want to talk to you?
Instagram or TikTok. So my handle is there. And
right, at Hannah.lifeafter. Cool. Okay. So find Hannah on the Instagram or the TikTok or the Tiki-Toki, as I like to call it, because I'm old. You know,
the clock app.
Yeah. Do you have funny videos on there as well, or is it all quite?
It depends. I did get to swear in a funeral, so I'll put that on a video.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, there you go. If you're into that kind of things, folks, if you just want to see someone swear at a funeral,
I don't. Death is my life's work, but I do not take it seriously.
There we go.
I take it seriously when I need to, and then the rest of the time is about getting people engaged and talking about it.
We might get that to go viral. You never know. But do connect with Hannah on there if you want any more information about what she does on a day-to-day basis. Go and order the book. Slide it under the tree for Christmas. Hidden in a box of chocolates.
I'm going to buy a box of Quality Streets now.
I really might just have to do this because I just feel like it's a worthwhile thing.
What you need to do is team up with Cadbury's Wales or something, Hannah, and do like a moon pig. Like you can get the book and chocolates and blah 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 together and hide it.
Well, if I'm entirely honest, what I'm thinking of doing is buying it, putting it in a box of chocolates, and then putting that it's from my sister and put it under the Christmas tree, and then actually I can renounce all responsibility. Isn't it? Although I have now just announced it, but I don't think my parents watch any of my content, so I think it's.
You have to make it. They'd have to make it all the way to the end. They might have gone by now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed today's conversation. If you have, then and you feel like somebody else needs to see this as well, because they're in a situation where perhaps they're dealing with people that are near end of life, etc., then please do share this to go around as well. We will be back sometime soon with another person to talk about their life and their journey in business as well. But until then, from Diane and Hannah and myself, bye for now.